Hello and welcome to Inderes TV. Today I'm in the studio with analyst Aapeli Pursimo to discuss Kalmar. Hi Aapeli.
Hi Pia.
If we start with the Q3, could you describe it in a nutshell?
Yes, so maybe the highlights was the record margin, and otherwise maybe the somewhat negative was the order intake, but it reflected the timing of the large orders in the equipment side. But overall, the underlying tone was still positive.
That's good. Yeah, so the order intake was just a question of timing. It's nothing to be concerned about at this point.
No, basically the company also stated that it was there was a lower number of the larger orders than usual. So, and of course, especially the larger orders can vary between the quarters.
Yeah.
And for the year-to-date level is still higher than the previous years. So overall, the situation is quite positive still.
So services clearly outperformed equipment in Q3. Can you elaborate a bit about the differences between these two segments and how important they are strategically for Kalmar?
Yeah, maybe I would start by saying that it was in Q3, the services performance overall was really strong and maybe not outperforming. It was quite solid performance also in the equipment side besides the larger orders. But if we then look at the profiles of those two segments, services and just all aftermarket side is like for basically all machine building companies, it has a really significant role as it's more stable and it's more predictable and typically has higher margins. And it also is a really important factor like in the whole business model that thus it gives more stickiness for the customer relation and for example that the customers can trust that there is availability of spare parts that gives the uptime. But whereas the equipment side also is important because it gives a kind of volume for the aftermarket in the future, and also it's important to understand in this Kalmar's industries there is an ongoing shift towards the more electrical and automated equipment. So basically both are very important. They have very important role for Kalmar.
Okay. The adjusted EBIT in Q3 exceeded estimates and it was driven by a record high margin. What were the primary drivers for this margin development, and do you believe that they are sustainable, or was it like more of a one-off case?
Basically what I already said, that the service were performing really well. And of course, solid margins in the equipment side also, and slightly lower group costs. But like the overall picture was really good in the profitability side. Then, of course, the company targets over 15% adjusted EBIT margin at the end of the 2028. So there is still room to go. But overall, the profitability improvement and the development of that is going really nice towards the target. And we also expect that to continue, given, for example, the strategy initiatives that they are having and the driving excellence program. But still, our estimates for 28 are below the target level, but still we are expecting that the profitability is improving year by year.
Good. If we then look at the different geographical regions, the Americas showed a little weakening. Was there particular challenges that Kalmar were facing in this region in the Americas, and what do you expect for demand going forward?
Yeah, there is like geographical differences, especially now, or maybe you can say also that there has been a subdued demand for some time already in Americas, but of course the tariff situation has an impact in there, and it's still ongoing, and it's quite hard to estimate where the situation is going to change given the quite predictable. The tariff announcements that we have received from there. But then if we look at outside of the America, the situation is good in Europe and stable in EMEA. So there is different dynamics, but of course the America, especially the United States, is the largest market in country-wise for Kalmar. So it has an important role, but of course the customers has to adapt to the situation in some point. So it could be subdued in the short term, but I would estimate that in some point of time it will pick up again.
And finally, what about the valuation and recommendation at the moment?
We see the Kalmar's valuations quite attractive right now if we consider also companies' good return on capital. So thus we are in the accumulated side still.
Okay, thank you, Apeli.
Thank you.
So Kalmar, accumulated recommendation and pretty nice valuation. You can read more at inderes.se, where you also find a link to our discussion forum in case you have questions for Apeli.